Welcome to That's Good Sports. I am Brandon. While other NFL sports anchors take the time to comb their pompous hair, I'm focused on bringing you the truth on a Sunday in July. Perna. Look, they did it. The NFL and the players agreed on the safety protocols and the financial details of their amended CBA, so we will have football this fall, and it's going to be awesome. There will be no preseason games, but I'm sure Antonio Brown will keep August interesting for all of us. The Jets traded Jamal Adams and got more draft picks in return than Vietnam. Quarterback Alex Smith has been cleared to return to the NFL, so my only question there is, has he been cleared by real doctors or Washington football team doctors? Because Trent Williams taught us there is a major difference. All of that on That's Good Sports today. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel, and maybe I'll use my pube trimmers to cut my hair one day. Today's episode is sponsored by Manscaped.com/goodsports. The Lawnmower 3.0 is the best pube trimmer on earth. You know that? I know that. And since pube trimming and social distancing go hand in hand, I bet your bush is trim. What else do we neglect on our male disgusting bodies though? It's toenails. And from your head, to your toes, Manscaped has your body covered. Now, with the Shears 2.0 4-piece stainless steel nail kit. Sounds manly, doesn't it? Slash tip tweezers, rounded point scissors, toenail clippers, and a medium grit nail file. Nobody likes an ungroomed set of feet. Except for maybe those with hobbit fetishes. So ensure nobody calls you Frodo Feet with the Shears 2.0 nail kit. To tame your pubes, check out the Perfect Package 3.0 to get the lawnmower, all of the ball toning products you've come to love with my 20% discount link at manscaped.com/goodsports, which now includes free international shipping to Canada, Australia, and the UK. Okay, Jamal Adams. The saga has finally ended with the ridiculous trade sending him and a 4th-round draft pick to Seattle in exchange for a 2021 and 2022 first-round draft pick and a 2021 third-round draft pick, and the Jets get safety Bradley McDouglad, who Chris Harris Jr. called a dog on Twitter. If Chris Harris calls a player a dog, it means that guy is not a cat, or a parrot, or a gopher, or a snake, surely not a lemur, nor a bear, rules out a fox, and it can never, ever be considered a toad or a salmon. And even though all dogs descend from them, not even a wolf. Chris Harris, dog whisperer. The New York Jets got a bunch of draft picks, which means nothing because when they draft perfect players like Jamal Adams, they just send them to Seattle for more draft picks. I'm not sure any team has ever given up 2 first-round draft picks for a safety, and I'm also not sure which century it was the last time the Seahawks drafted a good player with their first-round pick. Maybe Bruce Irvin in 2012, but they took Bobby Wagner and Russell Wilson in the 2nd and 3rd after him, so they really don't need first-rounders. Last October, the Seahawks traded with the Lions for safety Quandre Diggs, basically admitting they do not have a scout looking at college safeties. I would never give up 2 first-round draft picks for a safety, unless it was Ed Reed and I was returning from the future knowing how impactful he'd be. That said, Seattle's defense now has a top-tier duo with Adams and Diggs, and the Jets have a ton of ammo for the next 2 drafts and a solid replacement for Jamal Adams with McDouglad, who is rather versatile and has 5 picks in the last 2 seasons. Now, the Seahawks just have to make Adams the highest paid safety in the league and find money to retain Jadeveon Clowney if possible, all while knowing the cap will shrink in 2021. The other big news this weekend in the NFL was that the league and the NFLPA reached agreements on amendments to the collective bargaining agreement that will at the very least give us some football this fall. Friday, they solidified the financial adjustments needed to counter what could be a $4 to $5 billion loss in projected revenue for the NFL this season. The Players Board approved the proposal with a convincing 29-3 vote. Imagine if the Falcons player rep abstained from voting. Essentially, the salary cap is guaranteed to not be lower than $175 million next season, and additional revenue losses will be spread out through the year 2024. So every NFL owner can keep their yacht. And Mark Davis can keep both his barber and his 24-hour reservations at P.F. Chang's. I know I make fun of him a lot, but after learning that there's no problem in Mark Davis's life that can't be solved by P.F. Chang's, it makes him my secret NFL owner crush. A drop in the 2021 salary cap may cause some headaches for teams like the Eagles, Saints, Falcons, Chiefs, and Texans, while the Colts, Chargers, Patriots, Jaguars, Bengals, and even the Seahawks will be in great shape. So maybe Seattle can actually afford Clowney and Adams. Obviously, if Cam Newton plays really well, the Patriots will have to use a sizable portion of their 2021 cap on him, but the fact that they are in that solid of a position to do whatever they want in this climate is infuriating. The interesting part about this new deal, though, is that players agreed to financial punishment if they are caught partaking in unsafe COVID behavior. From Pro Football Talk, these activities include attending indoor nightclubs, indoor bars, except to pick up disgusting bar food, indoor house parties with 15 or more people, indoor concerts, professional sporting events, or indoor church services that allow attendance above 25% of capacity. Yes, the irony of NFL players not being allowed to attend sporting events is not lost on me, but I'm just glad the NFL finally took the time to realize how dangerous church really is. And that is why NFL players will no longer be allowed to celebrate like this during games and will now have to do this.
We love the devil!
Bring me down to your depths, Satan!
We love the devil! We love the devil!
We love the devil! We love the devil! We love the devil! We love the devil! Devil, 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 devil! We love the devil!
Otherwise known as the Patriots pregame prayer. All NFL players will now have a week to decide to opt out of playing this season in exchange for a $150,000 salary once the amended CBA is officially signed on Monday. Players can be fined if they break the rules I just mentioned, and if they test positive after breaking the rules, they will not receive game checks for any of the games they miss. I was surprised that the players made these concessions until Tom Pelissero tweeted that these rules will apply to any member of the organization, which only seems fair. A smart thing agreed upon in this deal is that positive COVID players, or PCPs as I will call them to really confuse you, can be placed on temporary IR. The practice squads have also been expanded, and practice squad players used to replace PCP users can be put back on the practice squad without hitting the waiver wire like they do if they fill in for a standard injury. This is a necessity to give teams the flexibility to navigate what will be the craziest season in terms of internal roster moves to fill out the weekly 53-man roster. NFL rosters will basically mimic the worst fantasy player in your league, who drops and adds too many players from the waiver wire every week. Now, I am sure we will see more players opt out, but the first player to officially opt out of playing this season is also the only player with a doctorate in medicine. Chiefs right guard Laurent Duvernay-Tardif. I think it's extremely commendable that he's giving up close to $2.5 million to help on the medical front lines. He posted this to socials. Being at the front line during this offseason has given me a different perspective on this pandemic and the stress it puts on individuals and our healthcare system. I cannot allow myself to potentially help these putrid Chiefs win another Super Bowl or to potentially transmit the virus in our community simply to play the sport that I love. If I am to take risks, I will do it caring for patients. And most of that quote is accurate. I'd never turn down $2 million to help other people. But that's because I'm a greedy bitch. Collectively, we need to be cheering for people like Laurent Duvernay-Tardif. The Chiefs then smartly added the one player who has a name just as fun to say as Laurent Duvernay-Tardif, in guard Kalichi Osemele. A man with a boring-ass last name, but whom we should also be rooting for is Alex Smith. Alex Smith, cleared to play again in the NFL. If Smith plays one snap in 2020, he should win Comeback Player of the Year, even if he fumbles that snap, loses 99 yards on the play as he picks up the fumble and runs backwards as flashbacks of what getting hit in the NFL did to his legs start coursing through his brain. He should actually have the Comeback Player of the Year award named after him. No. Maybe they should just be called the Washington Smiths. Or the Smiths. It worked for the band, so why not a football team? I'm happy for Alex Smith, and I'm happy he's healthy enough to play football. But the tragedy of his entire career needs to be discussed. If you saw the Alex Smith ESPN documentary, then you know that infamous leg break nearly cost him his life. Death was a real possibility, and now he can return to football just in time for COVID Ball 2020. Has anyone had a more cursed NFL career than Alex Smith? I mean, literally, every time he plays his best football, something terrible happens to him. It's the exact opposite of Tom Brady's career, where every time he plays bad, he's bailed out by a miracle and handed a Lombardi trophy. Think about Alex Smith's career. First, he was forced to play college football in Utah. Then, drafted by the 49ers, he got 7 different offensive coordinators between 2005 and 2011. In his 7th season in San Francisco, he was playing his best football, completing 70% of his passes before getting injured and being replaced by Colin Kaepernick. Cap balls out, forcing Jim Harbaugh to bench Smith in favor of Kaepernick. Then Smith watches Super Bowl 47 from the bench while his team barely loses. He's sent to Kansas City only to live in the shadows of the Broncos' Peyton Manning despite 2 11-win seasons at that time. He has his best statistical season in Kansas City the year they draft Patrick Mahomes. Smith earned a passer rating of above 100 twice in his career, both in his final season in San Francisco and Kansas City. 4,000 passing yards, 26 touchdowns, and just 5 interceptions, and he's sent packing because somehow Andy Reid knows Patrick Mahomes is a lot better than Alex Smith's best. He's traded to the most poorly run franchise in the NFL, the Washington football team. He's playing great football again, has Washington in first place in their division, and then the NFL's poster boy, J.J. Watt, shatters Smith's leg. Again, it's a 2-year recovery with numerous complications. And now he gets to risk it all in a triumphant return for the Rona Bowl. Yes, he's made a boatload of money during his career, but I dare you to find someone who received the shit end of the stick more frequently while doing so many things right on the football field. Finally, I really took some time to think this weekend. And the more I thought on this topic, the more angry I became. And I thought Washington really blew an opportunity. Why didn't they call themselves the Washington pig fucker, dick licker, cocksipper, ass ripper, goo, bong boy, bitch hole, fart knocker, rectum diver, titty nose, doobie doos? Well, until they decide on a long-term name, of course. Go so offensive and crass that no matter what you pick, people will just be happy they're no longer the aforementioned. Unless they decide on the Washington aforementioned. Thanks for watching another episode of That's Good Sports. Please subscribe here on YouTube. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, @BrandonPerna, if you're into screwing around with those social media sites.